Welcome, everybody. Captain Matt, Boater Secret Weapon. Starting a little bit late today. I'm actually back home in Nebraska. I had my brother's 50th birthday yesterday, and so I've been spending some time with family, and with the time difference, it just was hanging out with my brother and his wife and my nieces and nephews. So we are here. If you've not done this before, let me play the quick little welcome video. I forgot to shoot that off.
Hey,
I'm a little out of sorts.
Captain Matt, Boater Secret Weapon. I want to thank you for joining us for this Sunday night live. We're getting ready to start here in just a couple of minutes here. We'll start about 8:30, but I wanted to welcome you. If you've never been to a live, here's what you can expect. Just go ahead and chat in your comment section, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube. Just ask your question, leave your comment there, and then as we go through the time, I just kind of scroll down all the comments and I try to answer them. Now, if it's something that I need to ask you a question, I may ask you a question and just put it in the chat again, and I'll come back and I'll get that information so I can give you a more personalized response, something that's going to really add value for you. This is just something I do. One, it's great fun. I really enjoy it. It's helpful for the community. Just sharing my knowledge. Now, one thing that you need to know, I don't know everything about boats. I know a lot about boats. I've been a boater since I was 5. I've sold boats. It's something that is a big part of my life. With that said, I don't know everything. Matter of fact, sailboats, have zero experience with sailboats. Bass boats, very little experience there. Bow riders, deck boats, center consoles, jet boats, twin engines, stern drives, outboards, inboards, all of that I have experience with. And if I have an answer, I'll give you my best answer. If I don't have an answer, I'll try to give you a resource that will be valuable for you. If I have an opinion, I'll try to give you that opinion, but let you know this is what I think, not what I absolutely know. So I look forward to it. Here's a little video intro that a subscriber made for me. Thanks, Bo. And we'll see you on the live when it kicks off here in just a moment.
Welcome, everybody. Captain Matt, Boater Secret Weapon. A little out of sorts today. Had a late night last night, hanging out with family, friends, folks that I hadn't seen for quite a while. So turned into a late night and a slow morning. But anyway, pushed it back a half hour. Thanks for joining, and sorry for the late notice on that. Brock, welcome. Glad to have you. Just enjoying some family time, hanging out with staying at my mom and dad's. And actually, it's funny. I got a message from a subscriber last week who lives not even a mile away from where I'm at right now, asking a question about selling his boat. So that was pretty funny. But enjoying it and glad to be able to do the live. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to pull it off or not. Not a case 1980. Congratulations. That I'm always happy to hear when people buy their boat and they can buy it with a little bit more confidence or a lot more confidence, as the case may be, because of some of the information that we shared. It was funny. A buddy of mine from high school said his wife has been watching all my videos. I used to work with her in college. We bartended together. And it's funny when people that I know stumble across my stuff. They may or may not know that I do this. And so that was a pretty funny conversation when he said, I've been watching all your videos, and glad it was helpful for you. Congratulations. Jerry, first time on your live, though I've been watching the recordings. Thank you so much. Well, welcome to the live. Feel free just to chime right in. And wife and I live in Annapolis, bought our first boat the spring of 99, or this spring, 2019 Regal 28 Express. That's awesome. Congratulations. If you got a question, just fire it in. If you got something to add to the conversation, put it in the chat. Corey, welcome back. Corey's been on the last several lives, which is always awesome to see the same names popping up over and over and over. I'll share this real quick. This is let's see here. This is a picture that a subscriber sent to me. I've talked about when I used to work the gas docks and the little marina ship store bait shop on at Branch Oak Lake in Lincoln when I was in college. There was this boat, it was red, but a 21-foot Sea Ray, the red and white, and it was my dream boat when I was in school. Some of the dog pics that people have been sending, and it's just that was the boat in my mind back in when I was a freshman in what was that, probably 92, 93. And this was a brand new boat. So thank you for sharing that. I always love getting everybody's pictures and seeing your boats, your boating lifestyle, the stuff that is going on, and especially the new boats that you guys buy. So feel free to just email those to me at captain@boatersecretweapon.com is the best spot. So if you got a question, throw it in the chat, and we'll start diving in. Just got back from the lake, drive my pontoon much better because of you, Anthony. That I love to hear that. That's the best boat captain, best pontoon captain on the water. But we've got the different styles as well, and I always love to hear that. That makes a day on the water so much more enjoyable when you've got the skills to handle your boat, to maneuver it, to dock it, to trailer it, whatever. And I appreciate that. If anybody would ever feel the desire to go to Google or Facebook and leave a review, those are always super, super helpful. Let people know that what I do is not a scam, although it may, you see an internet thing going on and a lot of people think it's a scam, especially when we give away the free boot camp and the free toolkit. Yeah, we do make an offer for a product after that, but it's totally free. There's no scam. If you ever want your money back on something, just you get it. Although we don't have those happen very often. But if they do come up, I refund it and go on about my business, and hopefully they're satisfied that I come through on my guarantee. So wherever that is, there we go. I uploaded these slides to make it easier. We'll see if this is a good system or not. But so anyway, if you got a question, throw it in. London, welcome. Glad to have you. Let's see, Jerry, with the Regal, some talk about dealers in recent live and whether they're hospitable to folks who didn't buy their boat at the dealer. My local Regal dealer has been very hospitable. My Regal came from New Jersey. That's awesome. That is very good to hear. I wish it wasn't the case. I sort of, as I've talked about in the other videos, there's a reason why, and it's capacity and it's priority. But it makes the boating experience not as good as it could be for some. So I'm glad that if you want to give a shout out, Jerry, to the dealer name there in I don't know if you're in the Chesapeake area, but up in Maryland. Where did you say you were? Annapolis. Okay. So if you want to give a shout out to them, feel free to drop their name in the comments. If anybody else is up that way with the Regal, and I would assume you've got a Volvo in that, but they may do Mercruisers. I'm not sure. But all right. So I didn't have anything prepared. Let's see. What can we talk about while we're waiting for some questions to come in? We did. Let me see if I can do this here. This is so much easier when I'm at home and I've got I've got 3 screens so I can show everything and easily bounce back and forth to the different sections. But here we go. So I did my recent kind of series of videos on the best boating lakes in the U.S. Some of them I've been on, a lot of them I haven't, and they're just on my list of lakes to go to. And then we've got the best and worst cruisers, which is something I hadn't done before. So I went through that list, talking a lot about the used cruisers. I think, what do we have there? Jerry has his 98 Express. Yeah. So that's an Express. They were on the top of the list. I've always really loved them. All right, there we go. Corey kicking us off with the question. Question about anchors. I have a Navy anchor, but want to pick up a Danforth. Any suggestion on a good kit? So Corey, tell me what boat you have. and I can give you some suggestions. So I'm going to pull up, let's see, Navy anchor versus Danforth. So both of these have kind of the flukes. Let me see if I can show this here. There we go. So you can see the Navy anchor it's got a little bit more weight to it, and the flukes aren't as spiky versus the Danforth, where you've got the really prominent spikes, and that shank is a little bit longer. Usually, it's usually aluminum and it's bigger, but it's because it's aluminum for the size, it's not as heavy, but you can still go up to 15, 18 pound. So you've got a Regal 1900. Okay, so here's what you want. Let me see if I'll pull up. Well, this is actually the kit that you want. So you want depending on where you're at and how deep it is, I say a minimum of 100 foot of anchor road. And I like the 3-strand. It's easier to grab than the nylon braided. It's easier to pull up. Depending on where you're at. Also, some people will mark every 10 foot. If you want to do it the official way, you can do a white stripe, blue stripe, red stripe, and then you go double white, double blue, double red, triple, quadruple, and that tells you your depths, and you can mark it every 10 feet, whatever, 15 feet, whatever, depending on how deep it is. I say at least 5 foot of anchor chain. And then on a 19 Regal, I would say you're probably a number 10. So a 10 pound is probably sufficient on that. And the reason for that is you've got the weight of the 10 pound anchor, but then you've got the 5 foot of chain, which gives you another, let's say 5 pounds. And what happens is those flukes dig in and that shank drops down. And so it lets those stay dug in. And then that chain keeps it on the bottom as well, so that as the waves come and you've got your angle here, if the waves are dropping, are bouncing the bow up and down enough, it's only pulling the chain, that 5 foot of chain, before it actually starts digging those flukes out. So that's the setup that I would recommend. Stainless steel shackles from the anchor rod to the chain, stainless steel shackle from the chain to the shank, and then depending on kind of what your bottom looks like, Corey, depending on what your bottom looks like, you can also rig it up where you attach it so you can break it and pull the anchor out from the base. And we've talked about it. I think Brock gave some really good suggestions on that. But you can zip tie it, or you can use a really light thread, something that's going to be sturdy enough to hold a pull, but it's going to break with a yank. So if you get stuck, you can yank it, and then instead of pulling from the shank, which lets those still dig in a little bit, you pull from the base and you can pull it out backwards. And we talk about it in the Best Boat Captain program, but that would be the Danforth style. And you can really do that same setup on a Navy anchor as well. I would recommend is having that same 5 foot of anchor chain, at least 100 foot of road, and then make sure that your scope is, on a calm lake, I'll do 3 times, but usually I'm going to do a minimum of 5 times the depth of the water, to 7 times if it's a windy, choppy day. I'll go that much so that my angle is less drastic, and it's going to pull more of those flukes into the muck in the bottom, versus if you're up, it's going to more pull them up. So hopefully that makes sense there. Getting older, pulling 20-30 is a pain. Yeah, that can be challenging. And that's why I like and maybe even go with a thicker anchor rod, like a 1/2 inch. So you've got a little bit more to hold on to. And I really like that 3-strand. It's much easier to pull up than the braided. Some of that can be real slick. grew up in Federal Way, Washington. Lots of my buddies had boats, Lake Washington, Cheline. Yeah, I would imagine the Puget Sound versus a Chesapeake. I haven't boated on either of those. Been in both areas. I guess the San Juan Islands, I've done a very, very tiny amount. Overnighted on a buddy's boat there and up in the San Juan Islands. I went for a short cruise, but it was all fogged in, and so I didn't get to experience much of it. But we did go out just to spin around the marina. So, all right. Ralph says, love your channel, learned a ton. Just bought our first boat, Scarab, for a local Lake Whatcom, in Bellingham, Washington. Awesome. Congratulations, Ralph. Congratulations on the new boat. Glad that you've got value from the channel and found some of the 400 videos we have here helpful, so that you could buy your boat with confidence. I love hearing those stories. I would love to see a picture of the boat too. See you guys out enjoying your boat. Those pictures are always fun for me. Do you have a video on the new Manatee pontoon? No, but that's because I've been traveling and I've had other things that I wanted to get out. But I will do one, and I'll probably do it this week because when I first saw it, when I first saw the new Rotax engine, I had some thoughts, which, if you've watched Andy from Team Marine, if you've watched anything but the promo videos from BRP, I'm not the technician mind that the Team Marine guy is, but I have been around boats enough to know that everything is going to leak at some point. A gasket's going to fail, and there's going to be water intrusion. And if your block is below the water line and you get water intrusion, you're out of luck. Also, if you look at the lines of, let's see, Manatee. Matter of fact, I was one of the things that I wanted to do while I was here back home in Nebraska is go visit some of the local dealers in this market area and see what their inventory levels are looking like. Talk to them about what's going on. And let's see. I don't think I'm sharing this right now. Am I? All right, there we go. So if you look, let me go big screen on that. So this is the new Manatee Cruise. You can see the new, if you haven't seen it yet, the new Rotax engine. They call it an outboard. But as you can see, let me see. That's a little bit better. But you can see the water line is right here. So about half to 2/3 of the outboard are underwater. Well, it's not a stern drive, so the engine is actually in this pod here. From the way I understand it, it's a two-stroke still. It's the Evinrude technology rebranded as Rotax, put in a different position, and now underwater in an airtight compartment, essentially. And again, I don't care for not even being a technician guy. I can't imagine that's a good idea in 5 years. Maybe for the first 3 years, it's fine. But when you hit an underwater obstruction and now things aren't perfectly aligned, you're going to take water on. If anything bad happens back there, there's a good chance you're going to take water in. If you don't keep up with your maintenance and you buy this used and you don't keep your seals, I haven't dug into it, so I'm just going by some assumptions. Some of those seals, a seal goes bad. One of the sensors that they have for a water intrusion sensor, something goes bad there. And we know in the boating environment, freshwater, saltwater, even worse, that something is going to fail. I say it in a bunch of my videos that if you have a boat, at some point, you're going to either damage it or something's going to fail and you're going to have to repair it. Just figure that into your budget. Well, if something fails and water gets into the engine, it's catastrophic. And then let's look at the boat itself. So a couple of things. Let me see if I can. All right, we'll look at this image right here. So with this image, I love I absolutely love the back deck. Now, that back deck is only possible because of the way they designed the motor, right? Because they have that motor partially submerged. You can see, in this running shot, it's pretty much all underwater except for that very top section. It does allow you to give a huge 4-foot swim platform, which is the big negative when it comes to outboards. I don't think the trade-off of putting your outboard underwater and having that swim platform is worth it. I love it, but it's not worth it. And then you've got to tilt that motor up, and supposedly it comes all the way out of the water. I have not seen a picture of it tilted all the way up, but this little part hatches forward. So this will tilt up, and it allows it to come all the way out of the water. That platform, love. I don't like the trade-off of the platform and then having to put the motor part submerged. And if you've watched some of my pontoon videos, I'm not a fan of the stern drive pontoons either. I would give up the swim platform space and have an outboard versus a stern drive pontoon as well. Okay. So the other thing, though, is it looks a lot like a switch. The BRP, the Sea-Doo switch, their pontoon, their jet boat pontoon, they've got a lot of similar looks. And in my opinion, strictly my opinion, it looks somewhat cheap. This is all aluminum skin, but the lines of it, just something about it. Maybe it's because I've seen the switch, and it's, I think, plastic and cheap. It doesn't strike me as a great move. And I've had Manitou in my top 2 and 3 pontoon manufacturers because I really like their layouts and their designs and the quality. I was disappointed to see the direction that they're going. I think the engine is going to be a disaster. You can see them pulling in some of the switch concepts with the movable coolers that snap down and the plastic, and it appears cheaper to me. The layouts and just the design of everything, it looks, maybe I'm just too much of a classic person, but it looks cheap to me compared to this versus this right here. I would take this LX every day of the week. I'm not sure how big you can see that, but so those are just a few of my thoughts on the and this is what I'm talking about. The one on the left, the gray and yellow and black stripe, is the new design versus in my mind, what a pontoon should look like. So I can't imagine that the dealers that I'll go to will have one in stock yet. They just released it a couple of days ago. They probably don't have but a couple in ready to ship yet. But I'll let you know, and I'll do a complete video on the Alumacraft Manitou Rotax new product line. But overall, I don't think I'm going to be excited about it. I think it's going to, unfortunately, I think it's going to ruin the Manitou brand if that continues to be the direction they go. I don't think any of the dealers are going to buy these new drives, these new outboards. And if you've watched my other videos, I always say, doesn't matter. I said it about the Mercury 600. Don't buy the first generation of anything. I sure as hell wouldn't buy the first generation of that Rotax engine. I wouldn't buy that thing for 5 years until I see how durable it's going to be, because if it has any failure points, it's done. The boat itself, I'm going to hold out until I actually step on the boat and can feel and touch and get a sense for it. But my initial impression was I didn't care for it. It looked cheaper to me. So let's see. Corey, Jared, the digger anchor is the way to go. Yeah, it depends on the bottom a little bit, but yeah, I've always been a Danforth fan. That's always been the style that I like. Although I've been swayed on the box anchor for some people, especially grassy bottoms, and it's heavier. I mean, those box anchors are 25 pounds. It's one of the reasons you don't need a chain, but from what I'm hearing from boaters is it's always locking in, and it's easy to set. There you go, Anthony. I just hit that. I didn't even notice your. But yeah, Anthony, I have not run one yet. I've had on my list. I've had so many other things going on in the summer. I've had on my list to do a Danforth versus a box anchor video where I'm actually putting some resistance, trying different scopes, different setups, so I can show that to you. But I'm 99% converted to, if you want to use a box anchor, it fits, you've got storage for it, do it. I think you'll be happy. And in certain areas, like up in the upper Midwest with some of the grassy bottoms, they're probably way better. We're fortunate in the South Carolina, Lake of the Ozarks where we boat, in Tennessee where we boat, it's all mud bottoms. So the Danforth with the 5 foot of chain and a good scope is perfect. It works great. Never had any problems with that setup and those bottoms. But when you start to get to some other grassy bottoms, some more rocky bottoms, then the box anchor is even better, I think. So you're welcome, Corey. Let's see. If you're having trouble pulling the anchor, get a ball kit. It'll float the anchor to the surface, make it a lot easier to get back to the boat. Thank you for that, Brock. If you watch the channel Gale Force Twins, these two twins they used to be pole vaulters at Florida State. They've got an awesome channel. If you haven't watched them, you should. But they've got a video on how to use the ball kit. They walk through it all. I've never used one. They're much more common at the coast because I think probably because of the depths and the size anchors and things like that. But they've got a video on it that I watched, and I was like, "Oh, interesting. I didn't know that method existed." So thank you for bringing that up, Brock. I appreciate that. I'm only 32. Yeah, that was all the talk last night at the party, is how old we're all getting. I'm a couple years younger than my brother, and we're some of the youngest in my family. So cousins that are turning 60, and how your body slows down a bit. K Marty, motivated to purchase my first boat, 40,000 budget, want to purchase new for several reasons, interested in a bow rider, freshwater. Any suggestions? I do have a suggestion. Watch this video that is going to be coming out. Best and worst bow riders for 2022. Let's see. Can you see that? The kind of aqua color, just the fourth one over. That's going to premiere tomorrow, I think. But that video depending on what length you need, that's going to give you the value, the mid-tier, the premium. And I actually rank them a little bit. I rank them. Matter of fact, I give a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ranking. And I put them in premium, mid-tier, and value. So that's one of the comments that people wanted. Although I still have the belief that buy the boat in the category of your budget and the style are your buying preference. So for me, I'm typically a mid-tier buyer. I don't want the cheapest or the biggest for the money. I don't always want the premium, the best that money can buy. I want to be in that middle tier where it's going to be good quality. May not have all the bells and whistles. There may be a few things that they save some cost on, but it's going to be a good middle of the road. That's where I buy. And I think that works in boating pretty well, unless budget's not an issue, which for most people it is. So I think that video would be helpful for you. K Marty, I would have a question about what you're going to be doing on the boat, a deck boat versus a bow rider versus a dual console. You can watch that video on the channel too. If you're at the coast, I recommend the dual console versus the traditional bow rider. And there's a video on that as well. Let's see, where's that one? I need to get somebody to go through. There we go. Bow rider versus dual console. There's some differences that I think matter if you're freshwater versus saltwater or coastal, I guess is a better way to put it. That would sway me one way or another. Deck boats give you a lot of room. With that budget, some of the jet boats, if that propulsion style would make sense for you, and I have a video on propulsion systems, so stern drive, inboard, outboard versus outboard versus jet drive versus inboard, and that one is, here we go. This one right there. That kind of aqua says inboard, outboards, jet drive, outboards, inboards, which is best. That video may be helpful, but a jet boat would allow you to maybe get close to that budget. So check those out. Hopefully those will be good resources. Once you check those, I think that'll help you zero in. And then again, as always, when you're looking at new, the dealer itself, the dealer makes a major impact on your level of satisfaction over the long haul. Within the same category, premium, mid-tier, value, the dealer will make the biggest impact if you buy within that segment and you buy the right style of boat. So the dealer will be helpful there too. So throw any more questions in, K Marty, and I'd be happy to answer. Buddy has a Danforth, good with the weight. This Navy anchor is just heavy. Arthritis in my left arm, something a little lighter. Yeah, you gotta balance the weight versus the holding power. So it depends. Maybe Corey, it's a matter of lightening up, but just let out more scope. So put out the full 100-foot of line. Make sure you're not going to swing into somebody. And then, what I do is I will drive. So the scope's like this. I'll drive so that I can just pull the line up, and then I'm only pulling straight up. If it sticks, you can drive over a little bit, and that will usually help you pull it out, or use that trick with the zip tie or with the cotton twine that's going to pull if you yank it. But that can help. So you only have to pull up the depth of the water, and strategically anchoring in a little bit shallower spot, so you only have to pull it up 10 feet instead of 30. All of that can be valuable, but that method that Brock mentioned, I think could be really valuable for you. Saw this torch-looking Coast Guard approved SOS flare. Description says that it is. Yes, those are. I should say there's brands that are. I don't remember. Maybe it's not Solus. It's escaping me. But yes, there is. It's bright. You're exactly right. It looks like Statue of Liberty holding the torch. Those are Coast Guard approved as of, I think, last year or 2 years ago. And I would go to West Marine and I would just look at the brands and make sure that the brands, it's actually Coast Guard approved, or go to that website for that brand. You can buy it on Amazon, but just double check it on the manufacturer's website that it is Coast Guard approved. And those are acceptable by the Coast Guard as of last year, a couple years ago. Yeah, never buy the first gen. It doesn't matter. I mean, I say that about new models of boats because here's the story that really solidified this for me. Is I sold Sea Ray back in 2009 this was probably 2010 or 11 that this happened. So my second or third year. Sea Ray, premium brand. You just, except for the SPXs, I talk about that in the Bow Rider. I talk about that in the best and worst bow riders, but the Sea Ray brand has always been in the premium category, right? Well, we got in a SLX, a brand new 210 or 230. Excuse me. My body's still recovering from last night, as you can see. It was a rough day today, but too many crowns, that's for sure. Crown and sevens were flowing too much last night. But anyway, they shipped us the first. We were a pretty big dealer, so and the owner of the dealership liked to buy the photo shoot boats. They got a discount on them, so we could get them in, and they usually had got a couple of those every year. Photo shoot boat, or one of the first couple boats that they produced for that model year. Well, this was the first redesign of the new SLX 210 or 230. I don't remember which one. And we got that boat in. There was terrible access to the engine compartment. There, you couldn't even do the basics of like checking gear fluid, the gear lube. That was difficult to get to the way they designed their sun pad and the openings. You could visibly see raw plywood through the blower vent covers. You just see right in there raw plywood that, access to the water. Of course, that's going to get wet. There was like 3 or 4 things that I'm like, what were they thinking? They've been building boats for 50 some years at this point. It's because the engineers build the boat, and you don't realize these things until other people that weren't in the design process, other people that are actual real everyday boaters, that the engineers that boat sometimes are, in the case of Manatee, from the things that I've read and heard and kind of the chatter, is that some of these engineers weren't even boaters. And so they make decisions that they don't realize you can't have raw wood because they don't think, water issues. So that first generation is always just be aware. And my recommendation would be stay away from the first year model or 2 of an unproven technology. Or do your tapes have any guidance on navigating high waves? I have a 20-foot Sea Ray. We cover how to hit waves. So you want to take a wave on kind of a 45-degree angle. You don't want to go head into it, and you certainly don't want to take it parallel and try to like just glide over it. If the wave's big enough, it will easily capsize you, and it's just not the way you want to go. Keep your speed down, hit it at a 45 on that 20-foot Sea Ray. Use a good amount of trim to keep your nose high. And when you say high waves on a 20-foot boat, I'm going to say if you're in more than 2 footers, you need to stay on the dock. That boat, a Sea Ray, that's just not designed for it. Now, if it's a big cruiser or a surf boat going by and you're having to navigate their wake, that's different than what I'm talking about. I'm talking about there's consistent rollers of 2-3 feet. You shouldn't be out in a Sea Ray 20-footer. But if you hit it at a 45, you use that trim to keep your nose attitude high so that you can just kind of glance over it and you're not going to slam down on the other side. And just, you've got to maintain your speed. It's more of an art than a science. Once you do the 45 and the trim, you've got to kind of feather that throttle to, take it easy and land softly, and you're on and off the throttle just a little bit. And that's the best recommendation. But when I do the coastal version, which I'm going to be filming the week after Labor Day, finally, after weather delays, boat delays, issues with the captains that I had hired, I'm pretty certain we're gonna get this done finally, and we will have a section in that we'll talk about taking bigger seas, bigger rolling seas, and not just like I said, a cruiser going by or a wake surf boat going by, and you've got 3 wakes to run over, and how to take those on different bodies of water. So stay tuned on that, Rick, and I'll give you an update when that coastal version is coming out. I've seen the twins. Yeah, it's great. They've got an awesome channel there. I am super impressed. They're not only are their videos educational, they do 100 times better job in the videography and the, it's more entertainment too. So they mix great education with entertainment, and they're incredibly knowledgeable too. And I've really enjoyed their channel. You're very welcome, K Marty. Absolutely. Glad that you joined us and we're able to get a question in. Fuel question. Is it preferable to go with ethanol free or E10? Okay to mix both. So I've got a video on this, Jerry. Oh, let me see. I've got a video on this. Oh, maybe I don't. Videos. As I look for this video, I'll say go with 100% gasoline, no ethanol, no E10 if you're able to. It's a little bit more expensive in most cases, but you'll be glad that you did it in all cases, with one exception. The one exception is, there we go, why ethanol sucks. That is the video that you need to watch. And you can see it right there in the middle, why ethanol sucks. But essentially, if you run your boat so much that you're going to run a tank every 2 or 3 days, like you do in your vehicle, in your car or your truck, then okay, that ethanol isn't as big of an issue in a Volvo Penta Gen 5. So yeah, if you were going to run it consistently, it wouldn't be as big of an issue in a newer stern drive or outboard even. What the problem is there's one characteristic of ethanol that really doesn't work for water, and that is it absorbs water. The fuel system on a boat is open vented for a number of reasons, which means it's open to the atmosphere. Unlike your car or truck, you lock it in and everything's airtight, so no water can get in. And as long as you run through that fuel fairly shortly, it's not going to separate. You're not going to have the issues that are common. But on boats, fuel stays in longer. That fuel is open to the atmosphere by the nature of the fuel system. And that can then absorb water in just from humidity in the air. If you keep your boat near the water, that air is very, very humid. And now you get water into the boat or into the fuel system, and engines don't like water in the combustion changer. That's why you've got fuel water separators and you've got fuel filters, is to keep everything but gasoline out. And that's why I'm going to recommend ethanol free. And again, watch that video. I go into more details. There's if you've ever watched Born Again Boating's videos, he's got a really good one where he does a demonstration by setting an ethanol fuel jar in like a mason jar and then straight gasoline, and he runs a fan over it down in Florida where it's really humid, and you can see the moisture starts forming on the ethanol jar, and that gets the water in. And then if you add he did it over a short period of time, like not even a day, I don't think. So that video will show you, direct you to his video, and but that's the short version there. So Rotax makes great engines with buying Gen 1. So all right. Yeah, the podcast is let's see. The podcast, I do need to, I've just did a new video or a new podcast interview with Mark Phillips, who bought a Harris Pontoon after listening to my videos. And he bought the boat, had a really great experience, brought him on like a year ago. He talked about the buying experience and the dealership. Now he's 2 years into ownership, and we talked again. And so that will be coming out when I can get it done. I might get it done on my flight home tomorrow. Thoughts on minimum length boat, coastal family boating, Fort Myers, London. It depends on where you want to go. So if you're just motoring around, I don't know Fort Myers water at all. But if you're just motoring around in the intercoastal, in some of the bays and inlets where it's not super choppy, you're not going, to more than a mile offshore, you can run a 13-foot boat there if you know how to operate it and you pay attention to the weather. But I would say, 18 to 21 for a family of let's see, depends on how many people are in your family, but 18 to 21 is probably, that's a good size for a family to do some water sports, some fishing, some cruising. Be able to go maybe a mile or so offshore, and in good calm water when you have your skills are up and you've got all the safety equipment, and you know the weather's going to be good out there and coming back, but you're not going to get too far out and something like that. That's probably a good size to start with. That might be an interesting video to do. There's a lot of variables that you need to think about when you're looking at size. Budget's one of them, but also number of people, and but 18 to 21 feels reasonable without much other details. So yeah, there we go, Brock. Depends on the size of the family. Brock's got a 23 to 24, and Brock's been boating since he was pretty much his whole life. Since he was a kid, him and his dad have been around boats, running boats, fishing boats, and yeah, that does make a big difference. I grew up lake boating, which is easier, and we had a family of 5 when we were little. Like, I think we got rid of that because it was getting too small when I was probably like 10 maybe. So we had 12, 10, and 8. So we had a family of 5 that were young kids, but it was on a lake, which is, you don't have as much to worry about there. Moved up to an 18-footer and then to a 22. But at the coast, yeah, that's probably more offshore that you want to go. The deeper you want to go, the more room you want to move around, because the center console style doesn't have as much space in it as the bow rider style that we ran in the freshwater lake. That makes a little bit of difference too. Jason, if arthritis and weight is an issue, the Fortress brand Danforth are amazing, made from aluminum, keep the weight down, been using them for years. My FX7 weighs only 4 pounds, holds a 24-foot Yamaha. Interesting. 6 foot of stainless steel chain on the coast is making the switch to the Fortress. Thank you for sharing that, Jason. I appreciate that. Rick, welcome. Did I miss a question from you, Rick? Oh, okay. Yep. All right. So yours was a C-Ray question. You're welcome on that. Working with a budget of, okay. So it's depending on the length that you need. London was asking about a family bow rider for under 40. So 40 to 50 is kind of where he's working. It can be tough to get new in that price range to get brand new with the warranty and all. So it may have to be a little bit of a trade-off. And there's some boats that you can get that when they bought it, they had a 5-year warranty. They got an extended warranty or paid for a warranty that's transferable for $50, $100. That may be something, probably have to find something like that from a dealer to make sure that warranty is transferred properly. But something that's just a couple years old, make sure you inspect it and do all that stuff. But that may help you get the size and the style of boat that you're looking for, London. Why would you say that cabin cruisers have fallen out of favor over the past 10 to 15 years? I don't know. I can tell you what people are buying instead. They're buying pontoons and they're buying center consoles. I don't know if it's a generation thing, but this is the marina that I used to sell was, we had 100 wet slips, and I started there in 2009. If you were there in 2005, the whole marina was 24 to 38 foot cruisers. We sold Sea Ray, so it was just nothing but sun dancers as far as you could see. Every slip was that. When I started in 2009, it was about, let's say 60-40, 60% cruisers, 40% pontoons. When I left in 2013, it was probably 80% pontoons, 20% cruisers. When I was just back there the other day and visiting and getting some props that I needed for a video shoot I was doing, it was like 100% pontoons. Part of it has to do with, I think, the increase in horsepower and the outboard technology. So that then gave people an option to, okay, we can day boat and we can do water sports, and we can do with a bunch of people on a pontoon. We can get bigger center consoles with single engines. And so that at the coast or even in the freshwater lakes, the center consoles have picked up as well. That's part of it. I don't know if it's a demographic change. People said, man, that's a lot of work to maintain a cruiser because you've usually got to keep it on the water. It's pretty big to trailer. I don't know what it is, but that's what happened. Those cruiser buyers have turned into pontoon or center console buyers for the most part. And, you know, and even if you look at the cruisers in that video, I talk about how there's this hybrid that has come out. And the hybrid to me in this context is has a cabin, but also has open seating in the bow. So they take a little bit of the midsection, either under the center console or they raise the decks up a little bit on a bow rider, and they give you some cabin space, but you still have usable open bow space. And so even the cruiser market, they're selling a smaller number, but even some of the cruiser companies are selling more of those hybrid styles than a true express cruiser like your Regal. But I couldn't pinpoint one particular reason why it's happened. It's just it definitely is happening or has happened already. So just the cycle. Maybe cruisers come back in style down the line. But on the other hand, there are some people that will only have a cruiser because that overnighting, that condo on the water, that the ability to entertain, that is for them. And you can only do that in the cruiser style. And also, like, it's impressive. It's if you've got even just your 28 Regal, it's not the biggest cruiser on the market, but you bring somebody out to that to entertain clients or family or, business associates or something like that. It's impressive to walk on a boat that's, 8.5, 10 feet wide, or 8.5, 9 feet wide, full kitchen, galley, bathroom, shower. That's impressive to people. Air conditioning, everything that microwave, stovetop, everything that you could want. It's impressive and it's fun if that's the style for you. All right, Brock, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, Brock's got a similar situation, and his kids are from, I want to say, like 8, 9 years old to 12 and 15, I think, maybe 11, 8, 11 and 15, pretty close to my girls, and then a little bit mid-teen. If you're going in an inlet, I would say 40. If you're going out of, well, yeah. You're right, Corey. If I just saw a video on how to go through an inlet properly. Keeping your bow high, time. Your speed and timing of the waves. All of that matters. Knowing the local depths and where the breaks are and where to stay clear of. But know what you're doing for sure. All right. Let's see here. We're coming up on 10 o'clock Eastern. All right. Tom says, buying a Barletta per your positive reviews, 23 base model Cabrio, new helm. Looks like they're upper level boats. I haven't seen their new ones yet. I haven't seen their 23s yet. Quoting ordering in September. That's awesome. Congratulations, Tom. I am still, although we had IT consulting, he had a bad experience with Barletta. I reached out to the president and the VP of sales and marketing and kind of connected them or said, hey, you might want to reach out to this customer. He's not totally satisfied. But everybody else that I've talked to has had an outstanding experience. And I'm still a big, big fan of them. Most of the dealers that I know that carry them are top-notch dealers too. So congratulations. I think you're going to love it. With that said, Tom, make sure when that boat comes in September that you inspect it thoroughly. Make sure that you run it. Make sure you do all those little things. But it's good to see, that's a pretty significant discount off MSRP. So that's all good to see. London, you're very welcome. You are very welcome. It's interesting. Center console is much more popular here on the East Coast than in the West. Yeah, it used to be. I was at the Lake of the Ozarks with my family a month ago or so, and you would never, ever see a center console down there. And now you saw them everywhere. You saw the big, offshore 40, 45, 50-foot center consoles with quads and quints on it, just hauling up and down. And there was not shootout weekend, which was actually last weekend, which is the big race weekend. It brings in a lot of traveling and a lot of big, fast boats that like that kind of thing. This is just a regular old weekend. And you saw them on the docks. You saw them at the bars and restaurants. You saw them ripping up and down the lake. And you would have never seen those even 5 years ago. I remember seeing my first Boston Whaler there just a couple of years ago and being like, wow, that's interesting. So the center consoles that market is expanding into freshwater. And that's interesting. I don't know what it is about the West Coast that they're not as common. It'd be interesting to see if it shifts there as well. Yeah, when you're talking about with somebody that does bass fishing, I can imagine that center console feels a little different. I've run some center consoles in freshwater, and I don't think much about it, but I could imagine having most of your freshwater being bass boats, all of your center console there in Charleston being in salt. A little different vibe for sure in the two environments. Lifestyle and boating style of the families. Yeah, that makes a huge difference in the style of boat. So the boating families that want more of the day boating, the more water sports, the less overnighting, all of that led to it. There's a 2013 in stock with some new pictures. I'll have to go check that out. I'll have to go check that out, Tom, on the new Barlettas. Not sure if you saw my comment from earlier, but Regal is raising prices 4%. I did not see that. Thank you for resharing that, Jerry. Not sure. 4% per quarter MSRP in my Regal 28, 75 higher now than in 2019. Yeah, I was just the opposite than what I got from let's see, who was it? Barletta guy. Who just bought the Tom? Yeah, about his discount. Now that MSRP going up 5%, there's still room maybe for the dealers to discount. So they're saying, hey, we're gonna hedge a little bit, and we're gonna give notice that our prices are going to continue to rise at MSRP. But if dealers discount more to MSRP, maybe the price that consumers are paying for the boat, maybe they level out. So they're able to give bigger discounts off MSRP depending on what price they're buying, or just because, hey, the demand's not there, we have to move this product. I think the next year is going to be really interesting to see, with all the political maneuvering going on, with the inflation, with what the Fed's doing, with what the stock market does. There's a lot of things. Hopefully we can ride through it without any major incidents or major negatives, and things can just sort of settle back down to a level where it's not so volatile. So we'll see. All right, we're hitting an hour here. Just real quick for the commercials. If you've got your last couple of questions, throw them in there. But if you are buying a boat, grab the Boat Buyer's Toolkit. It's totally free, 25 pages, checklist, questions to ask, how to demo a boat. The Boater Boot Camp is a 3-part video series that if you're a newer boat owner, it's not a state NASBLA state boating course. It is as a new boat owner, these are the things that you need to know. Yes, there's some boating safety information in there, but maintenance, boat operation, what your systems do, what switches do, how to do certain things. It's something I think every new boater should listen to. Even if you're an experienced boater, I've been hearing, hey, I didn't know that. That's interesting. I'm glad I watched that. And it's totally free. You can check those out. If you are struggling operating your boat, and you get stressed out at certain parts, the Best Boat Captain is a fantastic program. We've got the Pontoon and the regular version. We've got Trailer Like a Pro if you struggle at the ramp. Tow water sports with confidence. We've got the coastal version that we're going to be shooting in a couple of weeks after Labor Day, and some other stuff that will be coming out as well. And if you are buying a boat, you've got the First Time Boat Buyers Academy. We've got 400 plus videos on the channel, but if you want it just more and concise, it's also got some negotiation stuff to make sure you don't overpay. That is a great program as well. And of course, everything comes with my personal Captain Matt's 100% money back guarantee. If for whatever reason you're not satisfied with the program, just let me know. You get your money back. No hassles, no runaround, no rigmarole, because I don't want to deal with it, and it's just easier that way. If you watch these lives, if you watch my videos, you should get a pretty good sense for me, and if I know what I'm talking about, and that keeps my reputation the way I want it to be seen. So, all right, I didn't see any other questions roll in here, so I appreciate it, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Apologize about pushing back a half hour. And next week, I'll be back in my regular home office with my girls, and we will catch you all next week. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.